This is Mike Rice, Man U supporter. A drinking game suggestion. Big Sam makes a point. Graham makes it about fucking Arsenal. You're listening to the DU Football Show.
Speaking of that.
Yeah, exactly. I figured there's going to be a lot of you making it about Arsenal because, right now you are 1-0, top of the table, going to win the league.
Not top of the table.
No. Okay, that's right. Somebody else more
Brighton,
goals.
More goals.
That's right. Brighton's at the Guess who's dead last?
Everton.
Yeah, of course. Let's start the show.
Born in the land of Bowie, Maryland. Bred to be a fan of fucking Everton. Punch you in the eye and drink your rye. Sam Houston. Arsenal fans have another Sam. Right day, the fucking Gooner Graham. Smell the Malört. Looks great in shorts. Sam Graham, hey.
Sam Graham.
Fucking United! Fucking United!
Hello and welcome to the DU Football Show, a totally biased recap of the English Premier League as told by two common American schmucks. I am your host, Sam Houston, and across the way from me, doing his best Cucurella impression with the hair fucking everywhere. My co-host, Mr. Samuel Graham. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, good. Just welcome to Football Town. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there is.
I'm one of your hosts, Sam Graham, and welcome to Football Town.
he's already doing a little hint at something there.
Come on.
Happen.
That's fucking seventh heaven, baby. We're in. We spun the bottle, and we get 7 minutes to talk your motherfucking ear off.
Yeah, if only it was 7 minutes
hours,
long.
or
if only it was 7 minutes long. And of course, on the ones and twos, Producer Mel, how are you doing this evening?
I am so excited I forgot to turn off my mute button for a moment.
I know. Well, and Whiskey
throwback,
Dick,
hashtag throwback.
and Whiskey Dick was also saying, hit the fucking mute button right as she was doing it, too.
If we can get him to redo it, he's coming in this week.
Hey, he's coming in this
I want to
week.
change that to, and don't be a cunt.
Okay.
Oh, shit. We weren't supposed to say that this season.
Oh, okay. Well,
Who said that?
I did.
I missed that memo.
I already broke the first rule.
I missed that memo.
Fuck.
Cunt.
we're recording at the DU Public House just outside the nation's capital. You can check us out wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, streaming live every single Monday night on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and on Instagram. Not on Twitter, because fuck Twitter. And, of course, please be sure to go like our TikTok channel. We can start going live on TikTok once we hit a certain number of followers. So we would love
so
that.
make fake accounts, follow us, do all the things.
Yeah, and we are 10% there.
Ooh, that's a hell of a number.
If only that Chinese facial recognition software got followers, it'd be great.
Should you want to chat with us, there's many ways that you can. Mr. Graham, tell the good people how they can get in touch.
Absolutely. It's the same that it's been for the last 6 years. It's at DU Football Show on all the social medias and dufootballshow@gmail.com to get in touch via email.
Sam and myself both work in the wine and spirit industry and both have a deep, passionate love for all things distilled spirits. So as the red-blooded Americans we are, we vow to have a drink in our hand throughout this show and every single show. Mr. Graham, what are we drinking tonight?
We have Waterford whiskey. This is an Irish single malt whiskey, but it is interesting because it is a terroir whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
They source all of their barley, all of their grain, rather. Nope, it's all barley in it. It's a single malt.
It's all barley.
They source all of their single malt from specific farms and then release expressions of just that barley. Which is pretty freaking cool. This one in particular is called the Cuvée. It is 100 proof, which is also a little high for a standard Irish whiskey.
Oh, she got some
to be completely fair. And the Cuvée back label, just to give you a little blurb about it, says, our unique library of individual single farm origin derived from distinctive Irish terroirs presents an unprecedented spectrum of flavors defined by Ireland's soils and microclimates. Famously, Ireland, the only country in the world you can experience all 4 seasons at once.
Right.
Here by layering
And Maryland.
yeah. Here, well, we are Catholic, yeah. Here by layering such singular spirits and expressing, each expressing its own identity, we present an assemblage in which 25 individual Waterford single malt coalesce to create the Cuvée, the definitive Waterford whiskey, our lodestar. This radical celebration of complexity only attained by fusing individual terroirs is a paradigm shift For in this way and in this bottle, we believe the whole is greater than simply the sum of its parts.
Oh, very
interesting. So that leads me to believe this is a blend of single malts. Does that sound about right? From what they said in very colorful language?
Yeah, but if it says single malt on the front, that means it all has to come from a location. So maybe it's multiple grains that they are blending together and then distilling as one. Multiple farms of barley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it all came from one malting of whiskey at one distillery.
Yeah. That has to be the case. Or
It's
otherwise
delicious.
You can't. If it's a blend of single malts, then it's a vatted malt or a blended single malt, as they now call it.
Yeah, fair enough.
They've changed the name so many times with that. But
It's delicious.
Big honeysuckle for me.
Right up front.
Lot of
Yeah.
big
It's
honeysuckle.
quite floral, to be fair to it as well. More floral than you would expect from a single malt. It doesn't linger at all. Like you would figure a single malt would, but that's obviously, mind fuck goes to Scotch.
I'm intrigued to find out what wood they used for this. The color screams ex-bourbon, but I also wonder, typically when you use the word cuvee, that is blending of wines typically in whiskey, but it's also, because a cuvee is a blending of grapes, same thought process. So I'm going to assume ex-American, just
They may have some French staves in there. There is a bit of a rustic feel to it, but it's delicious. I really like this whiskey.
Yeah.
They usually run somewhere, depending on each expression that's released, because again, none of them are the same.
Right.
How much it costs for them to get the barley, how long they actually do rest the whiskey, and everything else comes into great account when determining the amount of money per bottle. They can range. I'm not exactly sure what this particular one is, but I've seen Waterford go anywhere from $85 to about $135 on the shelf, which is, and it not being screwed by a retailer either. I mean, these are, it's just that range of prices.
Yeah, they're quite good. I've had multiple expressions of Waterford. They're very fun whiskeys, right? They're a little confusing like barrel. When you just don't, there's no
what it
real,
really is. Yeah.
And there's no real kind of flagship to hang a hat on.
Yep. Or to compare against, or they're all kind of, it's almost like a brand that only releases one-offs.
Right.
Without having...
AKA barrel.
Yeah, right. So think of like Whistle Pig. You can go buy a bottle of Whistle Pig 10 in California, Oregon, Michigan, Texas, or Florida, and it's going to be Whistle Pig 10-year-old, and you're going to love it, and it's going to be great. But they have the 12-year-old bespoke single barrels. They have the 10-year-old single barrels. They have the 18. They have these other expressions, these other things that they do. But if you need a bottle of Whistle Pig, you can always go find the 10-year-old.
Right.
Precisely. Waterford has no base. It's just fun shit all over the map.
Well,
and it's kind of...
And then you also put
the name... strange.
You put the name Waterford to it. The packaging is bloody fucking gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
Glass capping, the whole nine, and this is all of their bottles. The only thing that's universal is that they all have that blue
tint.
But so you are paying a little bit on packages as well, but it's it's a fun whiskey, and it's something that if I delved a little bit deeper into Irish single malts, it'd probably be something I'd probably have a couple 2-3 bottles of and have friends over and do a vertical kind of thing with. Would be fun. Mr. Graham, we also have a little bit of a treat because while we were on vacation, we found something in a market that's not available here and thought, what the hell? Let's take a little trip to Flavortown.
You're goddamn right. This is Guy Fieri's Welcome to Flavortown Spiked. This is the Tangerine and Tea is the first one we're doing. Only one we're doing on the show, actually.
Right.
You're going to have to check out patreon.com/DFootballShow to get the other flavors of this variety pack.
2, but then when we do our EFL
we do
show,
the EFL one.
We'll have one
that's
there
right.
too.
So stick around for the teams no one cares about. Made with real fruit. This says 6% by volume. And it's got Guy's face in cartoon form all over it. I love it. I think he kind of took a page out of our book with the packaging, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it looks very much like
a little
the logo.
cartoony guy.
I'm very surprised. There's actually I'm hoping it was a chunk of fruit in my cup. But the tangerine and tea, doing it with actual And it tastes like
It
actual
tastes like
juice.
actual
it
juice,
does
yeah.
taste fresh.
It's actually quite good.
And the tea
6%
doesn't
alcohol,
taste too
that's the
chemically
sweet spot.
either.
You're absolutely right. And for those of you, that watch Triple D or, whatever, he's got me doing the hunch.
Fucking brilliant. Fucking brilliant.
Hopefully I don't get sued.
I want to hate on him, but you just can't. You just can't hate on him. He's
I hope
fantastic.
The hunch is not trademarked.
Yeah, it's the stand-up comedian that talks about him and says how everybody wants to hate on Guy because he's got the big hair and all that shit and
The gimmick, and he's over the top, and he's a living cartoon, but
all he does is go to towns, to places that no one's ever heard of, and make them fucking popular.
Yep.
Unlike Bobby Flay, who goes, "Oh, you're an unknown chef. Come on TV so I can beat you."
Yeah, but Bobby's smarter and actually cooks.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Guy cook anything.
that's okay.
It's his backyard show that he does. It's
Sometimes,
pretty
yeah,
Son
fun.
sometimes. Yeah. Or he cooks under the direction of the other chefs.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he's hit the sweet spot.
But
on his
he does
career.
he does know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And what he does is basically, in culinary terms, is what Neil deGrasse Tyson does, where they're able to explain high level shit in layman's terms. So when Bobby Flay or somebody talks about the animal fat and this, that, the other, and then Guy just goes, yeah, it's unctuous. You know what I'm saying?
Animal fat makes shit good. Yum.
Right. Where that would be exactly where that somehow Stephen
It's my
Hawking
version of history. That's how I do history.
Stephen Hawking blinking says it has 16-letter words that no one can pronounce, and then Neil deGrasse Tyson goes on Twitter and goes, yeah, this is what he meant.
I love it.
That's what Guy Fieri is.
What else should we always do, Mr. Graham?
Always remember to drink responsibly.
Let's have a great show, everybody.
I should probably use the glass to clink it. How you like that?
Yeah, not very good. Mel and I sounded delightful.
It's the cunt mug.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't clink.
I never got that memo, by the way, of us not saying that word. It's just kind of what we do.
Exactly. That's but she didn't say that.
Well, I try to say D-back as much as possible, but whatever,
What a cunt. For not telling us. I love when jokes come full circle, man. That's the seventh heaven.
The season has begun, and it's presumed that it will be a two-team race. Both of those teams cruised and appeared to already be in mid-season form. Arsenal 2, Wolverhampton 0, Manchester City 2, Chelsea 0. A great start for the season for the Gunners, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, a dominating opening 15, 20 minutes or so. A gorgeous cross from Bukayo Saka to open the scoring, and a great header from Kai Havertz. Those two connecting again. So anybody that was worried about Kai getting done what he did last season, again, he's off to a brilliant start, obviously. Saka looked a little tired, looked a little off it. Obviously played every game at the Euros.
Exactly.
He was substituted in this match. He was not substituted a lot of last year. I think you will see a bit more rotation this early part of the season, especially against teams that we are playing very well against.
Well, particularly considering Trossard, Martinelli, and Saka all deserve to start every match.
Yeah,
and you can
pretty
only start
much.
two of them. Rotate them all, and Trossard can play from either side. He's
Right, but
comfortable
you
on
also have
either
Jesus
side.
that could play on the right as well if needed. You also have Odegaard that can step outside and Fabio Vieira step into the middle. You have Vieira who can play the outside to less effect, arguably, but
Right.
you have players that can slot in different positions. And I think the way Arteta has gone about rebuilding this Arsenal team is that there is cover everywhere, really.
Yeah.
There's somebody that can multiple people that can play pretty much every position, which is nice. But Wolves had their time in the sun, in this match, particularly after Cunha came on, who's always dangerous, and really did force David Raya to a couple of very good saves. But then, of course, you have Saka come in, just cutting in on that left foot. It's almost at this point, it's Arjen Robben. I know we've talked about this a few times, but it's a signature move that is coming that you just can't stop. And he is of that level right now, where you just simply can't stop him cutting in on that left foot and rifling it into the far corner.
Right, precisely.
I think there was a dubious kind of penalty call, argument. Don't think it was a pen.
Right.
But you talked about us being in mid-season form, and if we equate those to the bases on a baseball diamond, you say Arsenal probably at second base in scoring position.
Right.
There was somebody that did score with Gabriel Jesus' butthole in this game.
Well, I was about to say to say Wolves were chippy would be an understatement.
An understatement, yeah.
Yeah,
that's absolutely true.
Now, I will just say, I know just because Arsenal fans get so butthurt about anything that goes on against them.
It's too soon.
Too soon. The funny part about that is none of that even made the highlights. Yeah, Kai Havertz getting choke slammed didn't make the highlights.
I got in a little verbal tiff with Smokey on the interwebs.
Yeah,
Here's the first thing that Smoke needs to understand, just on a personal level, okay? Don't come for the Arsenal on the internet. We're worse than the fucking cat people.
Right.
Okay? And within 2 comments, 6 of my Arsenal brethren were jumping down his throat.
Yeah.
Firehawk being one of them, who's the most mild-mannered person we've ever met.
The calmest man ever. Yeah, pretty much.
So, Smokey, we are essentially the football version of Don't Fuck with Cats. Okay?
So I will say a few thoughts in that, and then you can go wherever you like with it. It's Gabriel Jesus, don't fall for it, right? Don't fall for it.
That happened second, though.
Yeah, but don't the getting
to be fair, Gabriel Jesus is being a cunt to begin with.
Right. He's standing in front of the ball. He
stopped in front of the ball purposely to fix his sock, which is why he was bent over. Fix his sock.
Right.
Which is why he was bent over.
Right.
But you've seen people push a hip, a shoulder, like tap the back of their head to kind of put them off balance. You know, that old thing you used to do to your own teammates?
Oh, exactly.
At training, like that. You see that all the time. He intentionally reached in, middle finger in the butthole, and tried to put him off that way.
Well, Mr. Graham, there's 2 types of people in this world. I'm going to leave it at that.
Gabriel Jesus and the rest of us.
Yeah, well, so
But that happened second.
Yeah.
The first thing is what I'm actually angry about.
Right.
That's the thing that really makes me mad. Yeah. When you saw it in real time, there was a pause in midair when both feet were on the ground and he extended arm and you saw his entire body motion go down towards Kai Havertz's throat.
Right.
That's violent conduct. That's worse than what happened with the Brereton Diaz, Fabian Schär little stupid headbutt.
We'll talk about that in the second segment.
But what I'm saying, if you're going to give their violent conduct is the reason for that red, what happened here and why didn't the VAR look at it?
Right.
You can see the intent. The still shots make it terrible, like all still shots do.
Right.
So why didn't that still shot make it more terrible?
There. Producer Mel, what you got for us?
Well, Christian has a question for Graham. Any thoughts on Ramsdale possibly heading to the Wolves? And would he back up Sa?
I think he'd start over Sa, to be honest with you. Especially with an Englishman in charge of the club now.
There's been a couple of times where Sa has been flirted with being sold to the Saudi league.
Yeah.
So that could still be on the table.
I heard Italy as well, a couple of rumors about Italy.
He's getting a little longer in the tooth. I wouldn't be surprised by that move at all.
It also wouldn't surprise me to be alone with the option to buy, because I don't think Wolves' finances are great either.
Oh, no. Well, also, just for you guys, too, it's just
to
a matter
protect
of
us later in the season where he can't play against us.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yep.
But I just think it could just be a loan as well, not even with an option to buy. We want to make sure he gets minutes.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to let Sa go unless they have a guaranteed commitment at the end of it.
Yeah, that's very fair to say. Now, the other thing that I would say is where you decided to grab his ass, that what happened there. Like you said, you're right. He's being a dick, right? It's also like, just push him, right?
Exactly. I mean, I've done that. You just give a little hip nudge, And
I'll be the first to admit, and we've talked about this before now, but when I do it, there's a reasoning behind it. When I used to play goalie on corner kicks, you would always have that player who would stand and lean up against you and try to mess with you. That guy, I would take the hand, cup it, put it right on the ass cheek, and just tell him, you got a really great ass. just like that.
But
and which would normally get them to like yell words that aren't acceptable, throw an elbow, ooh, dude, get away from me. But what it would do is get them off of being in my way, right?
But you also, more often than not, would probably get them sent off for violent conduct.
Right. In this instance, it's like you're gonna try to you try to stick a finger in his bum. Like, just seemed wrong, seemed off.
The whole thing seemed weird.
And also, if the whole point of VAR is to cut out that chicanery, the AKA Luis Suarez doing shit off camera that nobody notices, like the ball's all the way up the field and he goes over and kicks Kevin Morales in the knee. Like, that's what VAR is supposed to do.
I forgot about Kevin Morales.
Right.
Wow, what a reference that is.
Well, and that match, Everton were doing well, particularly Morales was doing well, and suddenly Luis Suarez goes over and rakes him down his leg. He gets subbed out, and then the game completely changes. That's kind of what, or better yet, an even better example, Diego Costa. All the shit Diego Costa does that the referees would never see. That's exactly what it should be for. And there is, right then and there, in that moment, is exactly the doing shit off the ball, not involved in a play. Why isn't VAR looking at that?
Well, but there's, again, this was the second instance.
Yeah.
And VAR can't give a yellow, right? Is a finger in the bum violent? About 100% of men would say no.
Right.
So, roughly. So, that's where the choke slam needs to come into play.
Right.
Where's VAR for the choke slam? That's what I'm saying. And Smokey's point was, look at where Kai's arm is as they're wrestling, going for the ball.
Right.
As a defender, I've done this 1,000 times. You cut in front of the attacking player between him and the ball, and you slow your run up. They have two options. They clatter into the fucking back of you, or they climb you.
Right.
Either way, you're winning a free kick, crisis averted, attack stopped.
Right.
You did your job. Right? In that movement, now you both start to fall. Those still shots of Kai look worse. 3 of the 4 still shots he shared, Kai's arm is like this, not like this, and the elbow was never once against his neck.
Right.
What you do see is as they fall and he braces himself and comes straight into Kai's throat, full-handed on his throat, and then falls over and goes, I didn't do that.
Right. Yeah.
That's violent conduct. The one time that has happened to me was at Soccer Dome, and it cleared both benches. Granted, we were both standing up. When Decore did it, he got sent off with Tyler Adams.
Right.
I would argue this is worse because Kai's head has nowhere to go. You're pinning him against the floor. Tyler Adams could have flipped over the advertising hoarding and looked like Batman, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
If you pin somebody against the wall, you could do a hell of a lot more damage.
Again, it didn't even make the highlight reel, so I just think y'all Arsenal players are just being a bunch of bitches.
He should have been sent off. Fuck you.
Yeah.
He should have been sent off. And it's no surprise he's a Colombian. Maybe he was checking for his Coke bag.
I hear
in
you.
Gabriel Jesus' butthole.
Arsenal appear to be ready to rock and roll and ready to battle for a title.
Oh, yeah. We're rolling. I mean, you look, and we're obviously going to come on in the second section, but and City's about to come up. But if you talk about a 2 or a 3-horse race, which has been for a couple of years, all 3 of us 2-0.
Yep.
Like,
solid wins.
Here we go. We're fucking, y'all wanted it. We're doing it again.
On to that. City are just fucking lethal.
Yeah.
Holland, barely touches the ball, finally gets the ball inside the box, boom, goal, back in the net.
I heard a stat. This is now a record for a player under Pep Guardiola. He has now completed the least number of passes as a player, period, in a single match that any player that has ever played under Pep ever has completed. 3.
Really?
He only completed 3 passes, Erling Haaland. He had 2 shots on target. He only passed the ball 3 times.
Right.
Completed 3 passes, rather.
His job ain't to pass.
No, it's not.
His job's to fucking score.
What's interesting is that he's becoming more and more of a focal point, which in your mind, especially when Pep's Barcelona that changed the world it lingers in your head. There's nobody that can't not pass the ball. It seems to be like it's all changing.
Yeah.
Like Pep is actually adapting rather than fixing players to fit his system.
Right.
He's actually adapting to this focal point system, which nobody was sure was going to work.
Here's the thing: Chelsea weren't awful.
Now, but
They weren't awful.
There was no Rodri.
Yeah.
So you're going to have chances. And it helps when Ederson drops shit.
Hell of a note that the owner goes storming out of the building before the game, out of the stands before the game's over. When, I mean, dude, you can't expect the new coach when you're playing the 4-time defending champions, right? Like arguably the best team in the world, and your guys put up a performance. They
had a couple of chances. They had a disallowed goal for a very unsurprising Nicholas Jackson offside. Cole Palmer had a shot on target. There's a couple of things with Chelsea that are an issue other than just the squad, right? Or other than just the coach, or other than just whatever, right? 4 weeks ago, whatever it was, maybe midsummer, so maybe 5 weeks ago, you had Enzo Maresca come out and kind of say, Raheem Sterling is a big part of our plans. He's a very important player for us, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't even make the matchday squad. No injury. As the squad is being announced, Raheem Sterling's people, agent, whoever, releases a statement that says, we'll be considering our options. This isn't great. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. It's not a direct quote. But, like, this was a surprise to us, blah, 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 blah. And it appears as though he may not play for them. Chuck Wameka. Enzo Maresca was asked about that, and he said, yeah, it's a football, he needs to play 35 games to prove that he can stay fit, and is he going to play 35 games here?
Right.
Todd Bowley, let's go back to him. You mentioned that. I know he's upset that Enzo Maresca couldn't pick one of 84 players, couldn't pick 11 out of 84 players to beat Manchester City, but should you be buying 84 players?
Right, precisely.
No. He's a spoiled brat dickhead. And the fact that he stormed out and showed a lack of faith and a lack of understanding and a lack of respect for his own team is very telling of the toddler that he is. And he's a toddler with $1 billion. If you gave Cameron $1 billion, I would expect her to act the exact same way when two of her toys didn't talk to each other because they're fucking toys, mate.
Yeah. I love the sign that was in front of a bar that was put up in our closed group that said 115 charges against 115 signings today.
That was pretty good.
Now, that being said, we bring up the 115 charges.
Looks like
that's the investigation or the hearing
coming to a close, and the hearing is supposed to be happening soon.
About to happen.
I like it.
So, yes, the team was in perfect form, and
Premier League title, here we go.
And then you heard Pep talk after the game with the Peacock crew, and they were like, how do you feel about this season coming in? He's like, it's different. We're focused. This is what we're going to do. This is how we do. It's not the normal overly tinkery kind of Pep thing. It's almost like it's not a comfortability in the regards of, we got this. It's more a comfortability in, I know my pieces. They all know what they fucking do, and we're just going to go fucking do it.
Well, it's interesting.
That's what you kind of the vibe you got from when you were
What's interesting is to that point, I found their squad very interesting. Now, Phil Foden being left out on the bench, not left out completely, but on the bench, fair enough, played every game of the Euros.
Had a lot of minutes.
Had a lot of minutes last season in general. Guy needs a rest. Had a baby over the summer. He's probably fucking tired.
Yeah, probably very tired.
I get it. The third kid, by the way, at 24.
Jesus.
Or whatever he is. Well, then when you got fucking 12 million in times 4 in the bank, it's fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can afford it, Nanny. And England has the best ones. They made movies about them. Who's the bro with the umbrella? Mary Poppins.
There you go. Very good. I was going to let you just, walk that line yourself.
I had a little brain fart there. So the Waterford's getting to me.
I was about to say Mrs. Doubtfire, not English,
no,
just English accent.
No, Scottish accent. I think is better. Anyway, not the point. What was very surprising to me was the unused substitute of Jack Grealish. 2 years there at City. Obviously, no one really plays for the first 6 months, as it takes a while to get used to Pep's system. Obviously cost £100 million from Aston Villa. had the treble-winning season, and then went off on a bender, as Grealish tends to do. Picked up an injury at an unfortunate time after not starting the first couple of games of last season. Didn't come back to full fitness until the winter. Was sparingly used. Was left out of England's squad. Had a full summer off. A full summer, completely off. And the brand new 19-year-old Brazilian kid that they bought 2 weeks ago starts the game, and Grealish doesn't even make the field.
Yeah.
I found that very telling.
That is actually quite telling.
And that's a shame for somebody with that immense of a talent, that it looks like he may be starting to be frozen out of that squad. Now, maybe Pep's got other ideas, which he very well could. But just based on Pep's history and how he bloods people into the squad, and then when he's done with you, he's kind of done with you.
Right.
And it doesn't look great.
Huh?
And I don't know anybody be able to pick up his wages. And City's going to want to recoup a little bit of the fee. So maybe then it's only 114 charges instead of 115 charges. But I don't know, man.
The three newly promoted sides began their campaigns all against top half opponents. Liverpool 2, Ipswich 0, Newcastle 1, Southampton 0, Tottenham 1, Leicester 1. Tractor Boys back after 22 years being out of the Prem.
Yep.
They had a big fucking ask having to host the Liverpool.
Absolutely, they did. But they stuck to their task well. That whole first half was pretty decent. They worked hard. Liverpool obviously dominated the play, but Ipswich had a couple of chances.
First half, Ipswich had 5 shots and 2 on target. Allison had to make a couple of saves.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool didn't have a shot on target. They had 2 shots, 0 on target at the end of the first half. So that, they were up for it. And of course, being in their building, it's rocking, right? And Liverpool's a professional side. They're prepared for that. But
of course, the Ipswich fans really were just thinking out loud.
I see what you're doing there.
Keep going. Got a whole list.
The other thing that the other big thing is you can't overlook the fact that Klopp is gone, right? And there has not been any signing so far, only departures. Now,
correct.
But you also have to then say all the important parts are still there.
You have to say,
all they did was just get rid of the fuzziness, right? So
including Mo Salah with his shaved head. One could say that Arnie slotted right in.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just waiting on you because you're apparently really butt-sized to want to do this bit. You're gonna.
Well, no, that was a different pun.
Yeah,
I'm working on more Ed Sheeran song titles.
You're killing me here, Graham.
Keep talking.
I'm leading to you. This is normally where you talk about what happens during the game, and I feed you questions.
They are a championship side that came up, so eventually the bad habits did creep in. And it only took 5 minutes in the second half there, 60 and 65 minutes, where Diogo Jota, and Mo Salah really just slapped Ed Sheeran in the face. Sad part was he wasn't even there to see it. Because he had to fuck off at halftime because he had a concert in Germany somewhere, Berlin or something.
Yep.
So he sold out a different arena, but he obviously owns a bit of the team, and we're poking some fun at that. I guess you could say that's his castle on the hill.
It's very much so.
Even though there are farms over there, so it's relatively flat, but it worked. My point is that there is for their first game out, and I don't want this to sound very Luton-y, because it might.
Mm-hmm.
They put in a good effort. They put in a good shift. And I know it's Liverpool, right? It's won Premier League championship in the last few years, runners up a few times, third place once. They are still quite good, as you say. They do still have a majority of their pieces. The spine of their team is the same, really, right? You have kind of an unknown factor in Arne Slot coming over from Feyenoord, and we don't really know what he's going to do.
Right.
But eventually in this game, the cream rose to the top, and, for at least 60 minutes, it was a lovely atmosphere at Portman Road. Welcome back to the Prem. Good job. This game told us really nothing about either team.
Right.
You can't really draw any inferences from it. I just hope that they don't fall into the spirited effort, guys. We'll go again next week, and then find themselves 15 points adrift.
Right. The other
Because
thing
I'd like Ipswich to stay up. I think that'd be a cool story.
Right. The other thing that falls into that too for Liverpool is before at the start of the show I said it's a 2-team race. It could be a 3-team race, but we just don't know yet.
Right. Exactly.
All right.
And this is the result that we don't know about. Right.
Also, they didn't sign anybody, so the dead weight that they got rid of. Well, they're now asking some kids to play, and they haven't brought in anybody. Like, if you get a serious injury,
You could be in trouble.
could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, but I think Liverpool's kind of waiting for get a couple results under the belt, show that the project still works, even though it's a different manager.
Yeah.
Now we can bring people in. There hasn't been a shit ton of movement besides at Chelsea in the transfer window for anyone, really.
No, not really at all. Well, everybody sees what happens with financial fair play and the PSR, and they're afraid to.
Well,
And also the other key thing that happened there too is the teams at the bottom got their finances straight and didn't have to sell to the bigger clubs, and that kind of screwed over the bigger clubs for spending money.
Yeah, but there's 15 other leagues they can go look at.
Right.
The other follow Brighton scouts.
Right.
The other piece is there was a summer tournament, and can I drop $75 million for somebody to get hurt in the first 2 weeks? I'd rather see somebody prove themselves for 3 weeks that they are fit, and then I'll go in and offer $65-70 million for them. Right. You know what I mean? So that's the other thing. But I a lot of people might say that the Ipswich thing is a house of cards. That there's all this hype, there's all this stuff, but we have to worry about it. But as Ed Sheeran would say, it could just be a Lego house. A little sturdier and maybe stay up.
Nice try. Newcastle get a gutsy win, despite the absolute boneheaded play by Schär. Like, you know better, man.
I think VAR with this and the advent of VAR, I think should look at this, and also, if you're going to do this, also book Barrington Diaz for a dive.
Right.
Sure. Still give him the red. Don't be putting yourself in a position you're an idiot.
Right.
Is it warranted a red? No. Is it technically violent conduct? Yes.
Put the head to the head and move your head even an inch forward.
You're giving the ref a decision
to make.
It's a red
card. It's going to be called red.
Right.
It's just what they do.
But Barrington Diaz, you can tell from full speed, slow speed, from any speed that was not warranted. You should be able to give him a yellow for that.
Yeah, agreed.
Because that's bullshit. And hopefully that'll stamp some of it out, because some people may have gotten a yellow earlier in the game, play act like this on a fake headbutt, and then they win their team an advantage. Well, it's just like diving in the penalty box, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, agree.
You don't deserve that.
Right.
It's bullshit, but I understand you can't also, then you bring in the subjectivity or objectivity of a headbutt.
Right.
Was that the force required? Was this, whatever.
It wasn't a headbutt, to make it clear, but the problem is the way they've written the rules.
That's how they talk about it.
If the heads are pressed together and you go much, it's over. Right. They call it a headbutt. And especially with concussion rules, they're going to be overly sensitive.
And somebody that is so experienced, like Fabian Schär, that fucking, this is the case. Why are you getting involved with this 25-year-old kid, 24-year-old kid, whatever he is? Just don't do it.
Don't do it.
What are you doing? Doesn't matter, though, does it?
Well, but here's the thing. The Saints end up deciding they're going to play, and this is kind of, what a few pundits have talked about. Russell Martin's going to play his style of football, and that's it, and that's what we're going to be. Well, that feels very Burnley-like, which can get you in trouble. Great, you're going to play your style, but at some point, you got to get scrapped in. And here's one where you're up a man, and then you give up a goal shorthanded. And then if ever there is a team that lives for this shit, it's Newcastle.
Yeah, but
they will slow that game down to a fucking halt.
What I worry about,
no opportunities, which the Saints got no real opportunities. Like they had the ball, they took shots, nothing was really threatening.
But neither did Newcastle, for real.
They're down a man.
But that goal was a direct result of Southampton's goalkeeper fucking up.
Oh,
Passing the
absolutely.
ball straight to Isak.
Absolutely.
What I'd be worried about from a Newcastle perspective is I don't really think they were dominating the match prior to Fabian Schär being sent off. And that was on 33 or 34 minutes, whatever it was.
I think it's still hard to really assess that they wouldn't have eventually taken over in the match, you know?
I mean, yeah, it's that's probably fair, but the other thing at the same token, it's hard to assess anything since it's the first week of the season.
Right, of course.
Well, I mean, this is the most pointless show we do other than reintroducing ourselves to people.
Yeah, pretty much. Moving on, the Spurs dominate, but they do just like they did last year. They can't finish, and they let teams back in. This is a game they should have easily won 2 or 3-0 going away, and then they just don't put the ball in the net.
And their new shiny striker had 3 shots on target and couldn't find the back of the net. One of which probably would have been flagged for offsides had it gone in.
Right.
And they just allowed play to go on, which still then counts because the ref never blew his whistle. But Leicester, kind of had that never say die attitude they had a few years ago.
Yep.
Before they went down. And interesting, they found that it kind of on the back of just Jamie Vardy and then Steve Cooper coming in because Jamie Vardy.
Excuse me. I insist you refer to him by his God-given name.
I'm about to.
Yes.
Jamie Vardy has reintroduced himself to the Premier League as Jamie fucking Vardy, which is what I was about to say, because he just did everything. He did all the things.
Mm-hmm.
He did them a bit slower, but he did all the things at 37 years old.
You know what he didn't do any slower? Shithousery.
Oh, yeah. No, that actually was amped up.
Pointing at the Premier League patch, looking at them and going...
Once he was subbed off.
Yeah.
They had to drag him off the field because he walked towards them to talk shit away from the touchline.
Look at that.
Yeah.
We got one of these. You have zero. Just fucking brilliant.
And then, after that, turns around to Christian Romero, who's trying to usher him off the field, and told him to fuck off.
Yeah.
And he's the most dangerous man in the Premier League.
Yeah, Vardy don't care.
Vardy didn't give a fuck.
Vardy's like, go ahead, headbutt me. Like, I'll kill you.
Honey Vardy don't give a fuck.
Yeah, Honey Vardy does not give a fuck.
Honey Vardy don't care.
That is exactly it. Now, here's the big thing, though, is...
He should do that. Fucking dye his hair all black with the white in the middle. He's fucking Honey Badger.
I was like, Jamie Vardy, he'll kill you with a sex.
Probably would. Also enjoyable, he was shown with a Red Bull at halftime. Then he goes out and scores a fucking goal. Now,
playing all the
slowest
hits.
goal he'll ever score.
Yeah, playing all the hits.
Because he just kind of drifted inside, allowed 2 defenders to walk past him, put his hand up and said, I'm now open, and then headed the ball in the back of the net.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he'll never lose his movement. And he played it perfectly. He looked not a threat. The defender switched off. He took 1 step back and found himself in 2 yards of space and was able to finish, right? I mean, it's a classic positional goal. It was very well done, actually. There was a few times. Now, he started the season with a knock.
Mm-hmm.
Leicester didn't have any fit strikers. He downed 2 Red Bulls, a handful of Skittles, and a shot of vodka and said, I'm fit, coach. I can do it.
Yeah.
And goes out. He still has an orange marker on the Fantasy Premier League app. 60% chance of playing knock.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But because there was no one else to do it, he said, fuck it, I'll do it. I'm not a pussy.
I'll get
and
out
he
there.
goes out and does it and scores a goddamn goal.
Of course
but you could tell now he is 37 as well. But some of the pace wasn't there, and I don't know if it's the age or whatever injury he's carrying.
Oh, you're going to have to use him in doses.
It's something.
That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to use him in doses.
But, bro, I'll tell you what. Put it straight in my veins. Put it straight in my veins. And the other thing you put straight in my veins is brand new year, same old Tottenham.
Rounding out the rest of the league, and so that happened. Manchester United 1, Fulham 0, Brighton 3, Everton 0, Forest 1, Bournemouth 1, Aston Villa 2, West Ham 1, Brentford 2, Crystal Palace 1. The opening match of the season on that Friday, meh.
So, I was actually quite surprised. United looked like they were relatively organized.
Yeah, but it still
Fulham had a shit ton of chances.
Yeah, and it still took them 80 fucking minutes to score. Like
it did. The whole game needed a goal.
Right.
I think it was one of those. This was nerves. This game, I think, was nerves. Neither team wanted to lose. a lot of people prior to the game were talking about Fulham and their chances here at Old Trafford to do something special. I think that made Fulham a touch nervous, to be honest with you. And there's no doubt they miss Paulinho.
Oh, absolutely.
No doubt they miss Paulinho.
Well,
now, Lukic, I think is his name, the tall Serbian guy. He did quite well, to be honest. I thought Emil Smith-Rowe fit right in. I thought he was moving stuff along. I thought Iwobi looked lively again.
Traore looked pretty decent, and of course Munoz just couldn't get on the back of anything. But that I was going to get to that front four can be very lethal in this league. Yeah. The problem was they were missing very good opportunities, which was concerning if you're a Fulham supporter.
But that's where I say I think it's probably nerves here. You're at Old Trafford, which, despite the hole in the roof, is still, this nostalgic, iconic stadium. Under the lights. You've got a terribly shy player in Emil Smith-Rowe for the first time as a person, not in an Arsenal shirt.
Right.
For what that's worth nowadays, the guy's been at Arsenal since he was 9 years old.
Exactly.
This is his first competitive fixture for another club, period. He's never, he did go out on loan once, I apologize, to RB Leipzig, and actually did quite well. But he's shy, and they all speak German, so he didn't have to talk to anybody. So it was actually a match made in heaven.
Right, he was fine.
But this ended up being Arsenal's record transfer out. Right. So now there's an extra weight, and Fulham's record signing. So this is also an extra weight on his shoulders that I don't know that he needs or wants. You know what I mean? But I thought he played quite well. The fact that he came off on 62 minutes, I think Marco Silva maybe wanted to protect him a bit, maybe switch stuff up. But overall, I thought Fulham gave a decent account of themselves. I think those chances will come. I think based on Endrick's, that Brazilian player's Copa America display, Muniz should be terribly disappointed he wasn't called up to the Brazilian national team because that was atrocious. Endrick, he's on his way to Real Madrid as well, which is fucking terrible.
And of course, the Man U signing, the new signing, gets a goal, comes in, sub, boom. How you doing? How's your father?
Yeah, exactly. Well, deflected goal. Actually, that was generic white man from the north kicked that ball and hit it off of his heel. And I didn't even get an assist for it in fantasy, which pisses me off. But, well, that's another story for another time. I thought United should have more question marks despite winning the game. Rasmus Højlund obviously hurt, fine. Bruno Fernandes has played a false nine before.
Right.
They have other striker options. They chose not to use them, which is fine. Garnacho, I think, would actually do okay playing through the middle because he could play off people. He could, I think, do a false nine better because he's faster. They chose not to go that route. Marcus Rashford obviously has played as a number 9 before, and they didn't use him there.
I don't know if Rashford's going to be on this team come the end of the transfer window.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you.
No.
So Fulham had chances, didn't really take. Onana, I think, made 2 great saves. Other than that, nothing major. I think United could have done a lot better than they did and won this game convincingly to put a lot of question marks to bed, and they just didn't do it.
Yeah, agreed.
So both of these teams, again, there's a lot up in the air about them based on this result.
Really bad from the Toffees, considering that it is the end of the final the start of the final season at Goodison. Now, admittedly, massive missing parts, right? You are on your 3rd choice at right back with Ashley Young. You're missing probably your best center back in Branthwaite. You're missing a piece in the midfield, and you ask the new kid signing T.I. to come in and play, which he probably made the best account of himself out of everybody out there.
T.I.?
Ingridham. Igbranham, the kid from Villa, T.I. His initials are T.I.
Oh, I thought they signed the rubber band man, Mel.
Yeah, so there
that's
you go.
What I thought.
So that's why I was calling him T.I. And Everton showed stuff in the first 20 minutes. They had a goal called offsides. They missed a couple of opportunities. One chance back of the net. And then start of the second half, penalty not called. For me, it would have been a soft penalty, but
we've seen him given.
But Dunk put himself in the scenario. The penalty doesn't there's not even a chance for a penalty if that guy's not on the ground, if he's standing upright, right?
Yeah.
And they say they're not going to have them look at the screen unless it's
working. Because actually, they've had to use a backup monitor already at Goodison Park.
Yes, but that it was a good call. And
actually, with someone's iPhone in the crowd, they looked at.
But that is how often they use them at that park.
I know. Yeah.
The fact that it's supposed to be, we're only going to look at the monitor if it is blatantly clear and obvious. And I'm like, what in that replay shows you that the initial call on the field shouldn't stand, right? There was nothing that didn't say, oh my God, ref, you got that horrifically wrong. It was a soft penalty, sure, but yeah, should have been called a fucking penalty, no doubt about it. And then Brighton's third chance is Ashley Young doing what Ashley Young does best.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was he doing his Ashley Young things.
Yeah.
At the time, though, it was what, 2-0? Or no, 1-0?
It was 2-0
when he got the
already.
red.
2-0 on the red.
Oh, yeah, because Danny Welbeck was ushered to the front of the 18-yard box by everyone.
Idrissa Gueye made a really brilliant pass to Danny Welbeck.
Yeah.
But
then
team.
Your two defenders just back off. Oh.
Well, you know why? Because we were intimidated.
In my way downtown, walking fast. I'm a seagull. Go fuck yourself.
That's absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first words of my notes are fucking Ashley Young again. And he played 75% of your games last season. Is he really third choice?
He is.
I'm just taking notes to pick holes in your story.
Nathan Patterson, then Seamus Coleman, and then the third choice at right back is him. I think you hear everything you need to hear about Everton. As I'm about to do my Malört shot because we got to keep this rolling, and I do want to talk a little bit about Brighton as well. Everything you need to know about that match comes down to the following. Michael Keane and Mason Holgate were on the pitch at the same time on defense for fucking Everton. Like that's about all you really got to say. So for anybody new, we do a shot of Malört every single time your team loses. My team loses a lot. Here we go.
Oh God. While you do that,
it's been a while.
Well, it hasn't. Last game of last season, actually. You're just right back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
What I would like to say is, as another special treat for everyone watching, we normally do our beers in a section on our Patreon show previewing the following week. But a lot of times I will try to buy beers based on name that have real things. And this time, I just want you to, sir, it's a Mobtown Brewing Company beer. We don't have to go through it. We can review it on the next show. Mm-hmm. But I just want to say, don't be a negative octopus.
Heard.
Because you have 8 problems.
Yeah.
You have 8 problems.
Yeah.
Like octopi have tentacles. Mm-hmm. Just don't be a negative one. Okay? That's all I wanted to say.
Exactly. I'm perfectly fine with that.
I did wrap it up. Thank you.
Yeah.
With that, I spent money on this joke. I'm saying it.
Yeah, fine.
Go fuck yourself.
For Brighton, I think there is concern that you think of like what Southampton used to be, where they were in the top 10 and playing around with Europe, and then they just kept selling parts, and at some point it caught up to them, and you would think, oh, is this the year it's going to catch up to them? After that result, no. You have the youngest coach in the history of the Prem.
7 years younger than James Milner.
Yeah. And
the guy's 30. He's 8 years younger than me.
Is that going to affect him? No. It's nothing. They were in
James Milner has to be 39.
Great form. They looked fantastic. So until this next week's game is going to be a big one for them because it's at home to United, and I think that's going to say a lot.
It'll tell a lot, yeah.
It absolutely will.
Especially the way they came out and seemed to be firing.
Yeah. Not a lot to really say in the Forest match other than Forest scored early, and then the Cherries pretty much dominated after that.
Yeah, I think a lot of Forest players were terribly upset, honestly, what happened to Danilo. That was horrific.
Yeah. Yes.
It wasn't really the contact from the Bournemouth player that did anything. It was a very awkward landing, and he essentially snapped his left ankle.
Yeah.
It's broken.
done.
He's
You're
out
done.
for the foreseeable future.
Done for the season. At least the season,
which
if not
is
longer.
horrible.
Yeah.
Nobody ever wants to see that, especially a non-contact injury is
Right.
always worse than a contact injury, just because with a contact you expect something
Right.
a little bit. Here is just like that could happen to me walking down the stairs. Like it's,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? It puts your own mortality at risk when something like this happens. But I mean, that being said, Forrest did have a fair few chances, but Sells played quite well because I thought Bournemouth created a decent amount.
Yeah.
And it was Semenyo who finally ended up getting the goal. And really, Sells almost saved that.
Yeah, he did. He almost
to be honest. It was just point blank and really hard struck. He got his hands to it. It was too much for him, only 5 yards out.
Forest is one of those teams I worry about. Like, you know, I can now, and obviously it's with my blue colored glasses, but I can look at Everton and go, you were missing massive pieces to your lineup, right? And while there's still things that need to be addressed, aka right back, right? They need to go find someone because you can't keep relying on two guys, one that's now 937 years old in Seamus Coleman and Nathan Patterson, who can't seem to be healthy ever, right? Like, but you look at Forest and they have all the pieces they need and it's still not working. And let's face it, Nuno is very much, we would call him a defensive tactician of a coach.
Yeah.
He doesn't do much to inspire. I'm already nervous for them.
Yeah, but I thought they dealt with Bournemouth well. The problem is Bournemouth sold their best player, and they still only got a draw here for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you didn't have Solanke to deal with, and you still fucked it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And for the Cherries, you sold your top goal scorer, and you still looked good.
Yeah, you still looked all right.
You still look good.
Yeah.
Villa flat out dominated. I mean, I think it was an unlucky pen. I very much believe Matty Cash got his foot on the ball. I thought he touched it.
Yeah, because your eyes work.
At the same token, I do think West Ham fans can be a bit encouraged if all they want to see is attacking football. Because they tried to play through the lines. They just played with everyone that was there last year and couldn't do it very well.
Oh, well, and they're going to be going up against... this is a team that should do pretty well against lesser opposition, but just because you went out and bought a bunch of pieces and you have a fancy new coach does not mean you're going to do well against good established teams.
No.
And that was very clearly showed by Villa.
In this match, absolutely.
The only difference with the Villa versus what City and Liverpool and Arsenal look like is that Villa gave up a penalty. That's it. Because other than that, they looked like they are.
Yeah, I mean that would have been
ready
last
for
year.
Champions
That would have been
League.
top four.
They are ready to fucking battle for top four again. They looked good.
That would have been top four going 2-0 across the board.
Yeah.
Without that penalty.
That goal from, what was it, Tielemans to Ramsey to Jake to
Duran.
Yeah.
It's a
It was
Duran.
like just the boom, boom, boom right in. And then Onana hitting one. Oh, I fucking love having Onana.
We're already too close to time for me to pull up Duran song titles.
That's okay. Yeah, it's too soon. Too soon.
Did somebody die?
What?
No, nobody died.
Oh, then what's too soon about it?
Too soon in the season.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be time.
I can. Next week, primetime match is going to be fucking fantastic.
Us and Villa.
Oh my god, it is going to be fucking
It's gonna be good.
fantastic.
The best part is I think we look a little better.
Yeah, it just.
I think you.
Y'all can't seem to beat us.
The one
We
thing.
got your number.
The one thing that I would. The one criticism I would lay at the feet of Aston Villa is, for everything he did, and I know he scored the goal, and that's great, right? Onana announced himself to the Villa Park faithful with a plum. Well done. He is not Douglas Luiz.
No.
And that's the part of the pitch that I would be nervous about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Arsenal's
Although
midfield...
Rogers did dye his hair like Douglas Luiz.
Okay, that's close. If Odegaard, Declan Rice, and Thomas Partey get to stretch their legs, if I was Villa, I'd worry.
Fair.
Because of that. Douglas Luiz did a lot of that running.
I would.
That's my only criticism. The rest of Villa was excellent. Emi Martinez looked like he hadn't missed the beat at all. He was completely fine. Made a couple of great saves.
I would say Onana is going to add something to Villa as a whole that they did not have with the McGinn-Louise partnership. He's
disciplined.
No. Onana is, but his job isn't to be the holding guy, right? He was being played in the holding role at Everton because he wasn't the right piece for a Dyche system. He just wasn't. He is going to be very much a more disciplined, better version of Pogba. He's going to be attack-minded, threading passes to that front line, which has a ton of speed and a ton of ability. And I think he's going to have one hell of a breakout year, to be quite honest. I think that it was a perfect number for us to let him go. It was a perfect club for him to go to.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a very, very good fit. And I think you're saying, what is he going to do defensively? His job ain't to be defensive.
Yeah, but somebody's in that team has to be.
Oh yeah, I think it's Ramsey and Rodgers.
But right, and they're both terribly young.
Yeah,
and Odegaard, Rice, and Partey will eat them alive.
I'm saying you're picking the wrong guy to pick on. I think it's those two are the ones you need to pick on. I don't think it's Onana.
Out of the three of them, he has the most experience in that position. Is what I'm saying.
But he's not that position. It's not the position he plays.
But I think he was better at that position than the other two.
And he barely played that position because Dyche put other guys in front of him. He played Garner and Idrissa Gueye all the time.
Change anything?
It may help, but how long of a preseason has he had?
He's been in training.
They are deep in central defense, which is good.
That's such a major injury.
Yeah.
I just worry about how much time he has under his belt.
I don't think he's coming back that soon, though.
It's just like some rust. Yeah. That's all. With obviously Mings is a mountain of a man. That the only thing I'd be concerned with is those first two games shaking the rust off. That's it. Getting his timing back
on one end and Mings on the other.
All right. So on to the final match. Honestly, the Bees were quite opportunistic, and I thought
Palace looked well.
Palace was the better team. Palace, I thought, was definitely the better team.
I thought the referee had a shite match.
Yeah, that blown whistle, and that was the thing with that too, is that was Collins running into Hughes and falling over. So it was, if there was a foul on anybody, it was a foul on Collins for tackling the guy.
Well, now that being said, if you look at once that replay hits, right, you see Will Hughes start to step and then just stand. Right. But he was leant over, and his back leg looked like he was sticking it out on purpose. But the ball wasn't going there. That had no effect on anything. There was no advantage gained. There was no nothing. It was a coming together that shouldn't have been called, no matter what position it was in my opinion. And Eze's goal, brilliant fucking free kick, should have stood.
And then
I would have won more money because I had this game as a draw in my actual money, my real money bet in real life.
And when people want to say the ref needs to blow the whistle sooner, right then and there is why the ref needs to keep the whistle in the pocket. Look to your side officials. Listen to what VAR says in your head. Hey, I think you missed something, but let the play happen. You can always go back and overturn it.
The difference there is offsides, is the other thing. Yeah. The difference there is offsides because they were already getting 96% of the play correct. Mm-hmm. And we've already seen, and I know you enjoyed it, but when Jordan Pickford broke Virgil van Dijk's knee, and it was clearly 5 yards offsides.
Right.
They should have raised the flag.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Come on. But in this sort of instance, keep your fucking whistle in your pocket.
Moment of silence for the Dutch tulip.
I just wanted you to say it.
Thank you. Here's the big thing for Brentford, though. Ballsy move. They do not even have Tony in the lineup. They are apparently going to sell him. And here's what I find interesting.
Well, they just said amidst the interest is what Thomas Frank said. So we spoke to him. He's okay with it. We don't want him to get hurt in case he does find a move.
Well, here's the move that's being talked about, and credit to Brentford for not ultimately selling, because let's face it, it's like you guys would love to have him. Like, you'd love to fucking have him up
I
top.
don't know the way Kai's going. I don't know.
But you'd love to have him, right? And also, if they have to sell him, they would have to sell him at now, not the $100 million.
A little bit of a cut rate price,
right?
yeah.
Probably sell him for 60, of which 60 or 70, which you guys would jump at, right? Now, here's the thing. Here's where they're talking of selling him to the Saudi League, and where that is somebody in the prime years of their career. Because normally, when you're going to the Saudi League, you're at the twilight, right? It's kind of like the MLS thing, right? It's the MLS in the Middle East, right?
Yeah,
And-
but unlike Ivan Toney, I'm not going to bet on that. The reason is he just made his first competitive tournament England squad, and he knows going to Saudi would absolutely slaughter that chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I guarantee you he won't sanction a move there.
Well, that's the talk right now, and that's the only real
It's always
serious
going to
suitor.
be a talk, though.
But it's the only real serious suitor right now.
Yeah.
A lot can change in a week. But
Now, if he wants to set himself up with gambling money for the rest of his life, yeah, go. I mean, that's the only place you're going to get that kind of money.
But the interesting thing in all of that is that Brentford's like, yeah, we'll be fine without you. And they got all 3 points.
Mhm.
They did exactly what they needed
And it was,
to do.
again, Mbeumo and Wisa.
Yeah, exactly.
Problem was they also scored against themselves.
Sure money.
All right, ladies and gents, for those of you that don't know, this is the segment of the show where we place bets to better inform you about how you should be doing. And if you've paid attention over the last 6 years, we absolutely always win. And if you are new to the show and can't sense that sarcasm, you're an idiot. So we hardly win. Most years are basically who lost the least amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comparatively
pretty
to
much.
the others. But we do every season put up a little wager of a couple shots of Malört.
Yep, absolutely.
I think this year we might be doing cocktails. Or was that for fantasy?
That's for fantasy.
That's for fantasy.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of shots of Malört up for grabs, depending who wins or loses the most amount of money
I
here.
don't recall you doing any shots on Malört last year when I beat you.
Well, what happened the last couple shows of this year? Because normally when that's up for grabs,
Yeah.
you dictate when someone takes their shots of Malört.
Fair enough.
So next week, I'll be more than happy to pay my 2.
Perfect.
No
We'll
problem.
do that next week.
All
You're
right.
doing them next week.
Yeah, I wouldn't have drank as much whiskey if I knew I had to take 2 of those.
No worries.
God, that's going to hurt next week.
Yeah, when we won again and I still got to take some Malört, yeah, sucks. I know what you're doing. So obviously, I normally say my bet last, but I do tell you up front how much I lost. We never bet on the first week of the
Nope,
season.
we never
ever.
do.
There's no point. You don't know who's playing. You don't know what's going to happen. And we do come up with these bets a week in advance. So it's a bit difficult, but a lot of fun. So, Sammy, why don't you tell the good people what you have going on for your bet for week number 2 of
All
the
right.
Premier League season?
Taking a quick little 2-leg parlay with a couple of home teams against tough opposition, but there's good odds in that, and that's why I took it. I'm going to take Palace to beat West Ham at Palace. I'm going to take Newcastle to win at home over Bournemouth at plus 384.
Not a
So,
bad little payout.
Little risk reward there, but I feel West Ham still needs to figure their shit out. Palace isn't an easy place to play in. Palace seems to be in quite good form despite the loss. I don't see them losing a second game in a row, especially when it's not them playing a big 6 club kind of thing.
Right.
And for Newcastle, I think in front of their crowd, they're going to want to kind of show something from what the last week's game was. I mean, yeah, it was a win, but it was not impressive.
The only
I think they want to show something.
The only question mark is after that red card to Fabian Schär, the apparent interest and money has gone up from Newcastle to acquire Mark Gahey. So if that happens over the next week, that could screw you, obviously.
I think Chris Richards is ready to play and can play
I also think
alongside
Tyreek Mitchell could
Joachim Andersen.
slide in as
Right.
well as an experienced head and play kind of a 3-man back.
Right.
To be honest with
But
you.
with last season, it was Richards and Joachim Andersen for a good portion of the season, and they did perfectly fine as a pairing. So I don't think him departing will hurt, but I don't think it's detrimental to their team.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah.
Are we doing the other one or no?
Pat's not going to be able to join us tonight. So what we're going to do moving forward is if we're able to get Pat live, Pat's going to call in and do a bet. But if not, and a lot of times, honestly, if we're recording late like we're doing tonight, there's just not going to be a Pat. Why bother reading an email? I'd rather have him on the phone and chat with him because that's the whole point. He's just fun to talk to, you know? Oh, and then the other thing I was going to tell you, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, with Leicester making it back up to the Premier League. A certain fox showed up in the backyard. Kitty's gone. She's MIA. She ran away. I think she ran off with the fox. I think she's going to pursue love. She's given up her love of gambling for a love of a fox. I think that's it. So Kitty's gone.
Did the fox show up and go, hello, Clarice?
Yeah, so...
And now Jamie fucking Vardy's just eating her brains out. But literally, not like, conolingus.
Kitty was she's no longer betting matches.
Man.
She's pursuing her true love, which is a particular fox that we know.
Nice.
What do you got, Mr. Graham?
So what I have here is I contemplated just being a dickhead and doing all 10 games.
Mm-hmm. Just right off the bat.
My normal end of season bet, right? My normal last week of the season when nobody knows what's going to happen or who's going to play, or you've got beach time factored in.
9-way parlay.
Transfer time factored in. I didn't do that. I contemplated it, but I didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did go with was a 5-game parlay. That should happen. Arsenal or draw with Villa, but also to have over 1.5 in the game. So that's a 2-leg parlay by itself.
Mm-hmm.
You add in then Wolves or draw with Chelsea, Newcastle to beat Bournemouth away from home, and Liverpool to get their first home win under Arne Slot against Brentford. That total of...
Not good gambling.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5-leg parlay pays me plus 763.
Very
and
good.
I do believe I can get off to a good start here based on what I saw week 1.
Excellent. Well, that's going to wrap it up, boys and girls. Mr. Graham, any parting words?
Yes. Yersin Mosquera is a cunt.
Heard. Very good. That's all you got.
He's the butt fingerer and choker.
Well, some people pay extra for that. Next up is DU Does EFL, where we're going to discuss the rest of English football. And then we do Injury Time, which is our preview show for the weekend's action. Now, DU Does EFL is completely free. And if you're watching on the internet, stick around. We're just going to take a quick break and we'll go right into it. But should you want to check out Injury Time, Mr. Graham, how do you go about doing that?
For the second time tonight, it's patreon.com/DFootballShow. Just sign up to that $5 tier we got. You get both of our extra shows, Soundcheck being one of them, which is our actual Soundcheck. You hear more from our personal lives. You'll hear us just catching up from the week's action, hear a lot about my kids, Sam's car troubles, and that kind of stuff.
I'm going blind.
Like Jonathan Davis.
Yeah.
He's going blind. I wish we still did music to outro the other show that we got in trouble for.
Yeah.
But then you also have Injury Time, as he said, our preview show where we preview the upcoming action, go over our beers, and do a lot of other fun stuff, commonly referred to as DU After Dark. A lot more sex jokes, a lot more not safe for work stuff, but always good-natured, always good fun. And we are a little tipsy when we do it, so it's a bit more just, it's a bit great. It's like sitting in a backyard with us on a whiskey night.
Till next week, everybody.
Good night. And don't be negative octopuses.
Born in the land of Bowie, Maryland. Bred to be a fan of fucking Everton. Punch you in the eye and drink your rye. Sam Houston.
Sam Houston?
Arsenal fans have another Sam. Right, the fucking Gooner Graham. Smell the Malört. Look straight in shorts. Sam Graham, hey.
Sam Graham.